Welcome to the Green Wisdom Health Podcast with Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis, where you will learn about natural solutions to common ailments. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And today we are going to educate you a little bit about detox, symptoms and solutions for detoxifying. So many of you always want to detox, but there are actually times to do it and times not to do it, and you need to know what kind of detox to do. And we have some new testing for detox. So Dr. Lewis has got a lot of information to share with you today. We're going to actually give you some symptoms of needing to detox, so and many other things, because as you know, or I've listened to his show, there are always other things when Dr. Lewis gets involved. So welcome to this show, and Dr. Lewis, would you like to start out by talking to us about why you chose detoxing this week as
subject matter? Because Janet told me to.
Great.
There's different types of detox, and the reason I get so much information out is because I can't stay on subject very long. ADD, ADHD. We've talked about phase 1 detoxification and phase 2. Phase 1 takes the B vitamins, and you have to take a good multivitamin. And I have a lot of patients that say, but I'm on a good one. And I look at it, it's like, it's really not. How do I tell you this is a piece of crap, that it may be well educated or well promoted or advertised, but it's really not. You need the folic acid. Many of you have the 5-MTHF genetic mutation. You need glutathione, which we're going to talk about. We need the flavonoids and bioflavonoids and the antioxidants. And that's just for phase 1. Phase 2 is conjugation. That's where different molecules are sheared off and take on other ones. And there's different detoxification pathways. The liver, sulfation's one that you don't hear a lot about. Methylation is the B vitamins that you need. There's glucuronidation, glutathione conjugation, acetylation, amino acid conjugation. I'm going to throw this in here because Janet doesn't have a clue.
Now, what is all this? What are you talking about? This is for detoxifying?
Yeah, this is phase 2.
Well, I was really simplifying it down. See, Dr. Lewis has got like this huge brain, and we're all going, what is all this? I wanted to do this show because of the masks. Because there's been a lot of kids having a whole bunch of bacteria, and they found a bunch of chemicals in these masks that they're making these kids wear to school, and half of the mask had one or more strains of pneumonia causing bacteria, and the other third had more strains of meningitis causing bacteria, and some were contaminated with dangerous antibiotic resistant bacterial pathogens.
That's funny. Janet told me something yesterday about, I think it's FDA came out with, there's a problem with the hand sanitizers. Like, well, hell, yeah. I told you that years ago. The biggest ingredient in hand sanitizer is fear. Quit it. Paranoia.
Which is why we're interested in all these different phases you're talking about over here, which we don't really understand. But
I don't care if you don't understand it. I don't understand it all either. You just throw it in and you literally ask God to bless it. So the thing I was going to say, amino acid conjugation, and this is something Janet doesn't have a clue I want to talk about. And this is a product that she didn't know we were going to talk about. It's called Amino Complete. It's the proper profile of the different amino acids, and some of them, like cysteine, are the precursor to the sulfation pathway. There's just lots and lots of pathways. So people say, but Dr. Lewis, do I need to do a detox? I said, honey, I've got you on plenty of stuff. You're detoxing. I promise you, I always figure that into the equation, always. So it's very important, but I've got you covered. So you hire me basically to make semi-educated decisions and take the stress and the worry. So I take care of that for you.
So are you saying that all of the chemicals, like what they're finding on these masks now and in hand sanitizers and that kind of thing, are clogging up these pathways? Is that what's happening?
Well, that's part of it. And, I started to do a talk on autism one time about all the research about autism, and it is they have lower vitamin D, and I'm going to get to that, I hope. Different things that clog or slow or just completely stop detoxification. It's not a matter of we getting toxins. You hear me talk about it all the time. It's a matter of can we detox it. And if you don't have good bowel movements, like Janet talks about, the train story, but if you have leaky gut and then you don't detox through the colon, then the burden goes to the kidneys. And I had a sweet patient down in Houston the other day, Vicky. Hi, Vicky. She said, well, da-da-da-da-da-da, and now I'm getting a skin rash. And I said, well, your kidneys are to the point you need to see a kidney specialist, which I hope to goodness she does. And so the kidneys can't take on the load that your colon's not taking care of. And then the secondary areas of detoxification is skin and lungs. And she said, I've noticed my breath is horrible. I said, your body's trying to detox. So we want to increase detoxification pathways in as many areas as we can and as gently as you can. There's a time to detox and there's a time to build. And Janet and I make the decision about when's best. So, please contact us. We're pretty easy to get in touch with.
Well, we make the decision about what's best based on your lab work. We don't just guess and go, hey, we think it sounds like a great idea to do that. Because there's been many people that's come in here and if you were to just tell us your symptoms, we would say, oh, sounds like you need a detox. But then we see your lab and you're so run down, there's no way your body's going to do that whenever you don't have the energy to do it.
Yeah, energy has to be used where it's best and safest for you. So when, we're going to go over all kinds of symptoms, but, if you're 10 pounds overweight or more, you need to detox. I mean, obesity, you're holding on to different toxins. The body's very reluctant to get rid of the fat cell or shrink the fat cell because it's going to expose you to toxins that the body's not capable of getting rid of. So quit worrying about losing weight and start worrying about, can I get healthy?
Well, we're pretty excited also because we have a new test available, which we've been working on for a while, called Total Tox Burden. It's on our website of greenwisdomhealth.com under specialty testing. Some of you have done the wheat zoomer panel we've had there to see what you're allergic to the foods. At the bottom of that page, there's a new one called Total Tox Burden. It is a urine test, which I like because nobody's poking me. It comes to your home. It's sent to your home. And it tests for 3 different kinds of testing. And I'm hoping Dr. Lewis is going to tell us a little bit about the difference in some of these. But one's for heavy metals, one's mycotoxins, and one's for environmental toxins. And there's actually symptoms that go with each category to know whether kind of what you're looking to test. But these you don't have to know exactly because they're all included. And we've gotten a special price on that whole bundle together now, which we did not have before, but it's way more in depth than anything that we have ever found. Like for heavy metals, the symptoms of heavy metal testing would be like neurological symptoms, cognitive decline, memory loss, tremors, numbness, tingling, neuropathy, myopathy, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, paralysis, Parkinson's, tinnitus, and irritability are actually signs that you may have heavy metals. People that have respiratory problems like lung disease, lung cancer, breathing problems, respiratory distress, and get pneumonia, another sign of heavy metals. Cardiovascular and hematological symptoms are anemia that you can't get past, red blood cell abnormalities, hypertension, low blood pressure, edema and cancers of the blood, gastrointestinal symptoms or nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, nutrient absorption issues, your mouth is always dry, metal taste, and pancreatic cancer. I think this is interesting. The heavy metals contribute to all these type things. Heavy metals have something to do with osteoporosis and reduced bone mineral density.
That's the thing, and we just had this discussion with Laura that just came in, and she said, well, calcium. I said, yeah, but the problem is back when we were much younger, we had lead in our gasoline, and the fumes would go out and get into the grass, and the cows would eat the grass. Well, it was full of fumes that had lead in it. So when you were taking calcium, it's from ground up cow bones, you was getting a lot of lead. So most of us that were alive before they got rid of the lead in the gasoline were full of lead, and that's one of the many. But, be careful about diagnosing yourself off the list because some of these overlap.
And a lot of this is for people that have had trying to get well, and they just can't seem to get well. And no matter what they do, they keep running into a wall. This is kind of where this heavy metal testing comes in.
And it's a slow thing, so you have to be able to, throw in the nutrients to allow this to happen. There are not old age diseases. There are diseases of accumulation of the bad things.
Yeah, people that are having trouble with infertility and reproductive problems, like you can't conceive, or birth defects, a lot of miscarriages.
Yeah. And that could be just as simple as the 5-MTHF problem, but it could be other things. And, that if you have a 5-MTHF genetic SNP, which I have two of the worst ones, and I've never been pregnant, so it must be that 5-MTHF, but that's a methylation or lack of methylation issue.
And, the World Health Organization considers 13 heavy metals of significance to human and environmental health, which is arsenic, cadmium, cobalt, chromium, copper, mercury, manganese, nickel, lead, tin, and titanium.
Just pick one, cadmium. Well, if you got high cadmium, if you're a man, you've got a really super high chance of having prostate cancer, and that's not the worst cancer you could get, but it's certainly not a nice one. And, you can just do selenium, but that's over a long period of time, that actually begins to push out the cadmium, and that's just one of many. And I do Brazil nuts every day just for the selenium, and I take a supplemental selenium too. And my MD said, "Oh, Dr. Lewis, your prostate's the size of a 25-year-old. What do you do?" And I said, "Nutrition."
And some professions and hobbies that are greater risk of heavy metal toxicity are people that are around fuel,
welders,
ammunitions.
Ooh,
gun dealers.
Oh yeah.
Painting. Painters.
The Army ammunition plant that we've had here locally for decades.
Rubber manufacturers, industrial smelting, mining, photographic processing, agriculture, semiconductors, welders, and waste or radioactive waste disposal sites. So those people have a higher chance of having the heavy metals. Now, there's three parts to this test. That's the heavy metal part. There's also mycotoxins that people really don't understand what that is, what they do.
And, many people have asked me about it, and I didn't really have a super good test for a while. We do now, and one sweet lady down in Elkhart, Texas says, "Well, I've got this and this and this and this, and I've been taking your supplements, and I've had a setback." I said, "Well, you've had a different exposure." She said, "No, I don't really know." "Oh, yeah, I stayed in the basement of my sister's in Missouri."
Which is mycotoxins, I believe, right? Like mold and
mildew, black mold, the big bad black mold. We all get exposed to it. Some of us to a greater degree and some of us to a smaller degree, but we just don't have the immune system to fight it. It can be from dietary or environmental sources, spoil food, water damaged buildings. We spent this morning with a guy that's going to fix some of that since we live on a lake. It can be airborne. Some of the symptoms that you may have a hint is chronic fatigue and weakness, and that can come from many other things too. But chronic burning in the throat, nasal passages, the post-nasal drip, coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath, the ones that you can't get rid of, loss of balance, depression. How many people are depressed and have anxiety? Well, part of it's, the last year or so we've lived. Skin rashes that just won't go away, eye irritation, tearing of the eyes, light sensitivity, hearing loss. And Janet says, "I have that. I have tinnitus." Yeah, okay,
She was getting the testing.
Yes, ma'am. When you have a heightened sensitivity to chemicals in foods, like when I walk down the aisle that's full of the detergents, I get real uncomfortable and it bothers my respiratory system, although of course bromelain does a whole lot to fix that. Irregular heartbeat, okay, that's me. So morning stiffness, joint pain, weakness, muscle weakness, sleep problems. How many people have sleep problems? Well, doggone nearly all of us. Poor memory, I'd tell you all about it, but I don't remember. Difficulty finding words, slower reaction time, vision changes. And that happens more with age, but it can be slowed down, and I guarantee abdominal pain, diarrhea, bloating, and that can be other things too. Skin sensations that are unusual, tingling, numbness, urinary frequency, increased thirst, dizziness, and again, metallic taste in the mouth. And it's like, well, Janet already covered that in the metals, but it can be mycotoxins also.
And then the other one are environmental toxins, which is very closely related to what Dr. Lewis just read. But, the thing is, you don't know what you've got, really. And many come from, like, amalgam fillings.
The Dental Association would disagree, but...
I'm sorry.
I promise you...
Inorganic mercury exposure is actually from dominantly dental amalgam.
And I felt better when I got mine out. My two dentists, humored me, and it's like, did I feel better because I decreased my exposure? Did I feel better because it was all in my head? Well, it doesn't matter. I felt better.
And then seafood. Everybody knows seafood's not really the cleanest thing you can have anymore with all of the mercury in it.
Yeah, but it depends on what you eat. Like, if you eat, you can eat 1,000 times more smaller fish like sardines and anchovies than you can shark, because shark will bioaccumulate because they eat fish that have it in there, and then they eat more fish that have it in there. And, if you get the anchovies and sardines, and that's where the good fish oil comes from, it has not had time to accumulate biologically.
And mercury is very much known, and cadmium. They're the two heavy metals that cause the most damage to your kidneys. And if your kidneys aren't working properly, then the mercury gets bound up and it causes inflammatory damage around them. And it can actually worsen to the point of causing renal insufficiency. So we're seeing that more and more.
Yeah. So either it's more common in society, or we're better equipped and knowledgeable, and God sends us more people that have that. And I don't know what the answer is, but we're seeing it more than we used to 5-10 years ago.
So, Dr. Lewis, I know you mentioned different products that could help clean things up. The problem is that some of us have a really good ability to detoxify.
Right.
And then there's some people that don't have a very good ability to detoxify. How would you know what products belong to what people or what they should take?
Well, I personally like to throw in a lot of different things and hit it from different aspects, the so-called shotgun approach. One of the favorite ones, like just for the kidneys, but it also has great effects in detoxification otherwise, is the kidney essentials. And sometimes I put people on that even though their kidney numbers look good. But it has cordyceps, and cordyceps is very highly researched to be a super, super mushroom. It's in several different of our products, and American ginseng, and astragalus. And astragalus is a really good cleanser too. But again, I have people on kidney essentials, and they feel better, and they say, oh my God, after a few weeks of this, I start feeling more energetic. The kidney essentials, some of that is from traditional Chinese medicine, like Poria coccus. It's a Chinese thuling, which is...
Ooh, you speak Chinese. I like that.
Yeah, I've been to China. Thank God I went to China, and it's not now, because I wouldn't want to go now, but it was a great place, and we learned a lot when we were there. It's actually a fungus that has been shown to support kidney function and normal immune system function. So doesn't
it go back to people having like their GI tract? If their GI tract is not If it's a slow mover, let's just say, your trains aren't coming through at the rate they should, which means every time you eat a meal, you should be getting rid of a meal. If you don't have that kind of trains coming through, would you say you could detox easy or hard? I mean, would you have to change up that for people?
It's worse. Is like I mentioned earlier. What it'll do, you'll create leaky gut, and yes, it is conditioned. Even though there's some people say it doesn't, it doesn't exist. Yes, it does. Any pollution, though, whether it doesn't matter if it's from your water, your food, your soil, it doesn't matter. It's even adversely affecting our unborn children, and that's way research that's been done, 2 or 3 decades ago. Chemical scents have been shown to add toxic burden, and one of the reasons I mentioned the amino complete, because the good amino acid profile is because the MSM, what you're going to get from the cysteine, the sulfur. The thing about it is you need more MSM and not M&Ms.
Well, I know, Dr. Lewis sprayed some spray for spiders the other day, and he was just out there for a short time, and when he came back, you could tell his breathing was not normal. He started sweating.
I was just excited to see her.
Yeah, he started sweating, and I thought, he's been exposed now to these chemicals, and so the first thing we did was hopped in the shower, tried to wash off what he could. Secondly,
skin's a detox pathway also.
Yeah, exactly. And if you smell it, if you have smelled it, it's in your system. That's all it takes, is what they say, and so when I saw that he'd done that, I not only threw him in the shower, but then we got him out. We gave him a lot of glutathione that he was talking about, the reduced glutathione, because that plays a huge role in detoxification. And then our Vital Detox that also has some other things in there. It has chlorella and things that help pull off the chemicals. But glutathione, I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about why that's needed in that, like a master type cleanser.
Yeah, that's more for phase 2 detoxification, which is a really good thing. It's kind of the big dog, the big kahuna, so to speak. It does more than just donate an electron, although betaine hydrochloric acid does that. It's betaine, or digestive enzymes also. It's a methyl donor, but glutathione protects your cells from toxicity because it reacts to the intermediates via the enzymes. Enzymes are incredibly important, and not necessarily just the ones you take when you eat a meal. And it helps detox the gastrointestinal mucosa secretions. Okay. I don't know. I felt really, really good. Of course, I was trying to sweat it out, and I was nauseous and all that kind of stuff. But
and other ones that you can get is like the charcoal. Like if you don't have any glutathione around you, if you have some charcoal,
you should always keep charcoal in your suitcase if you travel, in case whether it's food poisoning or whatever.
And bentonite clay.
Yeah, bentonite's really a good thing. I think glutathione's a really, really good thing. And my brother, who's a Dean's List chiropractor, he's very brilliant. He says, yeah, but oral glutathione doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. We've had the liposomal, but I don't think it's worth the price. And then if you start doing the IV glutathione, which works best, but, you're going to pay out the nose. You better be well heeled to do those things. And I've done them back when I had... long story, but I've done them, and they are expensive as oh my God, although at the time I think they kind of saved my life. Glutathione, it's the cheap, easy way to detox, but you need to do it at the right time.
But if you, like I said, you have slow bowel motility, is glutathione the best thing to use, or would you use like NAC and kidney things?
Well, I put a lot of people on the liver support and detox, and those are the precursors to making glutathione, which is the N-acetylcysteine, alpha-lipoic acid, methionine, cysteine, taurine, and then the trimethylglycine I just talked about. But notice it has methionine, cysteine, and taurine, and that's why the amino acid complete is really, really good for those that have chronic fatigue syndrome, those that are losing weight, can't gain weight, those that work out and can't gain muscle mass. I think that would be a good place. Liver support and detox is, in my opinion, the easy, quick, safe place to start. But one of the things that if you've had long-term exposure that I think people should be on, and this is safe also, Vital Detox. It will not clean you out harshly, but it does a little bit at a time, and it's got the cracked cell, Chlorella. It's got something called glucosinolates, which is the precursor to indole 3-carbinol. Then it has its own enzyme blend. Remember I talked about enzymes. You have to have the enzymes because they unlock certain things and then lock it back on another molecule to carry it out for detoxification.
And I can tell you that if you're doing any of those products and you don't drink enough water with it, you're going to hate us. Because that stuff's going to be stuck and it's not going to come through because it's grabbed all the toxins and you've not given it any water to help push it out.
Yeah, it's being reabsorbed through the colon, which puts the burden on the kidneys like we talked about before. And then people say, but I have a skin rash. And I'll say, well, honey, it's because you're not getting it out through your urinary tract or your colon.
Yeah, people don't realize that that's another eliminative channel, and if you can't get it out through your colon, it's going to come out through your skin, which is what's going on with these kids with their face mask, right? I mean, it's like just centralized to their face on their skin, and they can't detox it.
And it's bad enough because of the poor diet that kids have with the, bad oils, that you get in all the fried foods and the Twinkies, Don't blame good supplements when you're eating Twinkies for lunch, and be careful what you put into the temple of the Holy Spirit. One of the things that I want you to kind of stick in your mind is the word toil. T is for toxicity. We all have it. O is for the oxidation. That's why you need the antioxidants. I stands for inflammation. And again, if you're 10 pounds overweight or more, you have inflammation. And there's a lot of other signs too. L is for lack of optimal mitochondrial function. We've talked in previous podcasts about the mitochondria are the energy makers in the cell. So if you have chronic fatigue, you don't have optimal mitochondrial function, and that's because your cells are very, very toxic. So T for toxicity, O for oxidation, I for inflammation, L for lack of mitochondrial function, and I would like to say L is also lack of love and laughter, because the more that you do, the better off you are also.
And L is also for if you've not done your lab, you should get that first.
Oh, Lord, she's looking at me like it's, yes, ma'am.
Well, the reason for that, again, is because people start this detox stuff. They're not physically able to do it. And on lab, we are able to see, based on liver enzymes, your immune system, how far down you are to start with. And many times we need to build you up with some building things before we start trying to detox you.
True.
So if you've never had lab, you need to start there. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to our website, greenwisdomhealth.com. We're able to order the lab in most all states in the United States, except a couple. And we can run a whole bunch because we do not involve insurance, so we're not guessing at what's going on, way more than what you're getting at your doctor's office. So if you don't feel fine, you need to start there. If you have done lab and you still don't feel great and you're on products already, consider doing the total tox burden test to figure out exactly, especially if you're one of those people I named off that have a job in an area where you're around a bunch of toxic chemicals.
And I like research. There's a review of pesticide exposure and cancer incidence in agricultural health study cohort. That's from Journal of Environmental Health Perspectives. Talks about animal toxicity. There's also another one about vitamin D and risk of cognitive decline in elderly persons, and that's from Journal of Archives of Internal Medicine. So you've got to optimize your vitamin D levels, and that's a pretty quick, easy, simple, and inexpensive way to begin detox. It's certainly not complete, but it's a vital part of that.
And again, that's seen on lab. You don't just start adding vitamin D in because it is toxic at certain levels. And I do have an uplifting story real quick because I know we're coming to the end of our show. I had a lady, her and her husband just started with us about 3 months ago, named Dave and Lori, and she told me yesterday that this is the first time she's been married to him, I think she told me 45 years, that he is now able to grow a full beard. And she said never in his life could he grow a full beard. And she said, I don't know which product that y'all put him on that's doing it, but she said, it's just beautiful. And I said, I don't know which one either. The thing is they all work synergistically together. And because they did the lab work, we put them on a very specific treatment plan with the right pharmaceutical grade nutrition. So, really happy for them. I thought that was pretty cool because I always tell people hair's the first thing to go when you're sick because the body thinks it doesn't need it, and it's the thing that people want the most. So there's your uplifting story. And Dr. Lewis always has some words of wisdom. They're words that he likes leaving the audience with at the end of our show.
Yeah, well, before I do that, I'd like to say that we got some really uplifting, an email, several of them lately, but there's one especially from Trish that talked about in all the years that she's been trying to get proper thyroid function, that I was the first one to pull it off. And more than her medical doctors, and I love our medical profession. They do a really good job. I've used them a lot, so I will never poo-poo medical profession. But the difference is, they're trying to alter it with pharmaceutical drugs, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But if you can imagine what your body can do if it has the proper nutrients and the time, there are physiological limits of time. And Trish wrote me an email that just made my whole day. So, you can keep that up. As far as what's happened in the past, some of you just need to give it up. Disappointment should be cremated, not embalmed and looked at from time and time again. There's my words that are not necessarily wisdom. And even though Trish writes us sweet emails, we don't strut sitting down. We're not boastful. We'll give God the credit for that because your body's designed by God. It just needs something to work with.
Yeah, we just help guide it getting there. So, again, thank you guys for listening to this week's show. We are scheduled to have a very special guest on the next show that we are really excited about. Casey is returning again, back by popular demand, talking to us about a different subject. So you guys be sure to listen to our next show as well. Please share this one with everyone you know. We hope you have a very blessed week, and we'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You're only one step away from a life worth living.